Your SCCM software update deployment shows unknown, failed, or in progress forever. Where do you start? In this lesson, you will learn one repeatable troubleshooting method. We will follow the update through 6 stages: synchronization, policy, scan, download, installation, and restart or compliance. At each stage, I will show you what the component is doing, which log proves it, what a healthy result looks like, and which safe check comes next. We use only generic lab names. Never copy a remediation into production without change control, a backup or rollback plan, and testing on a small pilot collection. Before touching a service, scope the problem. Write down the exact symptom, the first time it appeared, and the error code shown in Software Center, monitoring, or the logs. Ask whether one device, one boundary group, one collection, or most clients are affected. Ask whether synchronization completed, whether the deployment ever worked, and what changed immediately before the failure. Confirm the Configuration Manager site version and the client version. Then choose one affected lab client and one healthy comparison client. This simple comparison prevents a client repair when the real problem is site-wide, and prevents a server change when only one endpoint is unhealthy. Here is the mental model for the entire lesson. First, the top-level software update point uses WSUS to synchronize update metadata from Microsoft Update or an approved upstream source. Second, Configuration Manager creates policy for the targeted deployment. Third, the client scans against its assigned WSUS endpoint and decides which updates are applicable. Fourth, required content is located and downloaded to the client cache. Fifth, the Windows Update agent installs the update according to deadline and maintenance window rules. Finally, the client reports evaluation and enforcement state back to the site. Metadata and binary content are different. A green synchronization does not prove that content reached a distribution point, and a successful scan does not prove installation. Start at synchronization when updates are missing from the console, products, or classifications look wrong, or the last sync failed. In monitoring, open Software Update Point Synchronization Status. On the site server, WSyncMgr.log tracks the synchronization process. WCM.log records software update point configuration and communication with WSUS. WSUS Control Manager performs health checks. If the software update point is remote, WSUS Control.log is on that remote server. SUPSetup.log records role installation. Verify the configured synchronization source, products, classifications, languages, WSUS ports, proxy, and certificate settings. Do not troubleshoot a client until the required update metadata exists and synchronization is healthy. If synchronization or WSUS communication fails, check whether the Update Services service, the World Wide Web Publishing Service, and the WSUS Administration website are running. Review the WSUS IIS logs and HTTP error logs. Microsoft Documents Common Meanings, a 401 followed by 200 can be normal authentication, 403 point stored certificate or IIS access configuration, 404 suggests a missing virtual directory or IIS configuration, and 503 means the service is unavailable or overloaded. Confirm that the ports configured on the software update point match the WSUS website. Common WSUS ports include 8530 for HTTP and 8531 for HTTPS, but use the ports actually configured in your lab test connectivity without exposing a real server name. When the update exists but the client never sees it, inspect deployment and policy. Confirm that the correct update is inside the software update group, that the deployment targets the intended collection, and that the device is a current member. Check available time, deadline, user experience, restart settings, and whether the deployment is enabled. For an automatic deployment rule, WUAHandler.log shows rule evaluation, matching updates, downloads, group creation, and assignment creation. On the client, policy agent and policy evaluator help confirm that machine policy arrived and was evaluated. Triggering policy repeatedly cannot fix wrong targeting. First prove that the deployment and collection are correct, then retrieve policy once and read the logs. The client cannot scan until it knows which software update point to use. ScanAgent.log records the scan request and requests a WSUS location. LocationServices.log shows the software update point returned to the client. WUAHandler then configures the Windows Update agent to use that source. If ScanAgent shows no policy for an update source, verify that software updates are enabled in client settings, the software update point is installed and synchronized, and the client received current machine policy. Also check for conflicting domain group policy. Microsoft warns that domain Windows Update policy can override the equivalent configuration manager settings, even when an administrator believes both settings are the same. Run one software update scan cycle on the lab client, then read WUAHandler.log. WUAHandler is a bridge. It reports what the Windows Update agent returns. For deeper detail, examine WindowsUpdate.log. On current Windows versions, Get Windows Update.log can create a readable Windows Update log from event trace data. UpdatesStore.log records the applicability state for each update and raises state messages when that state changes. Look for the first real error, not the final generic failure. Copy the hexadecimal code exactly and decode it using official Microsoft guidance. A successful scan should produce fresh log activity and updated applicability state. Group scan failures by cause. Codes such as 0x80244001B can indicate proxy authentication. Other failures come from name resolution, blocked WSUS ports, certificates, TLS, or IIS. The Windows Update agent uses WinHTTP for scanning, so view the WinHTTP proxy configuration and compare it with the design. Use a safe connectivity test to the generic lab software update point on the configured port. If Microsoft documentation maps the code to missing or corrupt Windows Update components, use supported repair guidance. Renaming the software distribution folder is a disruptive reset, not a universal first step. Use it only with approval, after logs support that diagnosis, and understand that it rebuilds the Windows Update data store. Use read-only checks first. Confirm that the Configuration Manager Client Service, Windows Update Service, and Background Intelligent Transfer Service are present and in the expected state. Display the WinHTTP proxy configuration. Test name resolution and the approved WSUS port with testnet connection, using only a generic lab endpoint. Generate a readable Windows Update log when needed. These commands diagnose, they do not prove the root cause by themselves. Do not disable firewalls, delete registry keys, reset WSUS, or clear the update store simply to see whether the error disappears. Record the before state, make one approved change, run one scan, and compare the after state. If the scan succeeds but Software Center is stuck downloading, move to the content stage. Microsoft recommends checking CA.log, Content Transfer Manager.log, and Data Transfer Service.log. CA records the content request and source selection. Content Transfer Manager tracks the transfer job. Data Transfer Service gives transfer detail and the content URL. In the console, verify that the software update package contains the required binary and that content status is successful on the intended distribution point. Confirm the client's current network location belongs to the expected boundary and boundary group, and review fallback settings. A client may know that an update is required while still lacking any valid content source. Make a simple decision. If no content location is returned, focus on boundary groups, distribution points, package distribution status, and fallback design. If a location is returned but the transfer fails, focus on the exact URL, bits, network path, certificate trust, and the first transfer error. If content is missing on the distribution point, review package status before redistributing. Avoid repeatedly redistributing all content or enabling broad fallback as a blind workaround, both can hide design mistakes and create network load. Your verification is a completed transfer job, content present in the client cache, and the deployment moving from download to evaluation or installation. When content is downloaded but installation does not begin or fails, inspect evaluation and installation. UpdatesDeployment.log explains assignment evaluation and enforcement decisions. UpdatesHandler.log records installation activity. WUAHandler and Windows Update.log provide the Windows Update agent result. Check the Updates Microsoft Knowledge Base article for prerequisites and known issues. Confirm that the deployed update's unique identity and architecture match the device, and review superstance or expiration. To separate an SCCM workflow issue from an update-specific installation issue, Microsoft suggests testing the update manually when possible. In a managed enterprise, do that only in an isolated lab and, when necessary, under the same local system context used by deployment. A required update can wait after its deadline if the client has no suitable maintenance window. Service Window Manager.log lists applicable windows and their start and end times. Configuration Manager compares an update's maximum runtime with the time remaining. If the maximum runtime is greater than the available time, installation is postponed until a later window. Microsoft also notes that after an update starts, it can continue beyond the end of the window. Review Updates Deployment and Maintenance Coordinator for enforcement and override behavior. If updates installed outside the expected window, inspect deployment properties, client logs, restart behavior, and audit status messages before assuming that the maintenance window feature failed. Some updates require a restart before they can report a final compliance state. Reboot Coordinator.log records restart coordination, and scnotify.log helps with user notification behavior. After the approved restart, run a fresh scan and deployment evaluation if needed, then confirm updates store state and console monitoring. Configuration Manager includes reports for overall compliance, compliance by update or update group, deployment evaluation states, enforcement states, updates missing content, and computers missing content. Do not judge success only from Software Center. Verify the installed result on the endpoint, the latest client state message, and the deployment state in the site. Example 1, monitoring shows unknown and the client has no fresh scan. Read Scan Agent, Location Services, WUAHandler, and Windows Update. Prove the assigned software update point and scan result. Example 2, Software Center stays at 0%. Read Content Transfer Manager and Data Transfer Service. Decide whether no location was returned or the return transfer failed. Example 3, the deadline passed but installation is waiting. Read Updates Deployment and Service Window Manager, then compare maximum runtime with the remaining maintenance window. Notice the pattern, identify the failed stage, open the stage-specific log, capture evidence, make one controlled correction, trigger only the relevant cycle, and verify both endpoint and console state. Avoid 4 habits. First, do not reset every client component at once, that destroys evidence and makes the real cause unclear. Second, do not approve or deploy an untested change broadly. Use a small pilot collection and documented success criteria. Third, do not delete WSUS data, rebuild the software update point, or reset the Windows Update Store as a first response. Those are targeted remediations for supported diagnoses, not routine troubleshooting. Fourth, never publish production logs, domains, server names, site codes, IP addresses, usernames, tenant identifiers, or credentials. Sanitize screenshots, file paths, terminal history, subtitles, narration, and metadata before recording or uploading. Save this order. Scope the impact. Confirm synchronization and the update metadata. Confirm the software update group, deployment, collection, and policy. Confirm the assigned software update point and scan result. Confirm content location and transfer. Confirm installation prerequisites, deadline, and maintenance window. Finally, confirm restart and compliance reporting. Stop at the first failed stage. Use the first meaningful error, not the last generic code. Change one thing, retest the relevant cycle, and collect before and after evidence. This method is slower than guessing for 5 minutes and much faster than creating 3 new problems. You now have the complete map. The next patching episodes will go deeper into software update point and WSUS synchronization failures, client scan and Windows Update agent errors, distribution point download and boundary group failures, and installation, maintenance window, restart, and compliance reporting issues. After the patching series, we will continue with SCCM client remediation, operating system deployment, management points, distribution points, and then Microsoft Intune. Subscribe if you want practical troubleshooting that explains why a fix works, not just a list of commands. The Microsoft Learn sources used for this lesson are linked in the description.